So Love is Blind UK has arrived. And so has Love is Blind Mexico, huh? Yes, a second Love is Blind franchise has hit the miscellaneous towers. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. I will cover Love is Blind Mexico in due time, but since most of my audience is English speaking, I decided to prioritize Love is Blind UK for the time being. And also low-key, the Love is Blind Mexico season has not been giving what it needs to be giving, but that's a spoiler alert for my next video. So in this video, I want to discuss episodes 1 through 4 of Love is Blind UK Series 1. Yes, I know the British call them series instead of seasons because I'm just so cultured like that. So pour yourself a drink in your gold goblet, grab a snack, and let's discuss. Episodes 1 through 4 of Love is Blind UK are mostly pods, so this is going to be a lot of first impressions and predictions about where the season could be going. I was really excited for Love is Blind UK. It's been penciled in on my calendar for months, and as soon as I started the first episode, the production value was eating. And that is part of why I was so excited for Love is Blind UK, because the UK is low-key a huge capital of reality TV. Similar to the United States, the UK has a long history with reality TV and trying really interesting concepts that they have then exported to the US and other countries like Love Island, The Traitors, The Circle. So I feel like the US and the UK are kind of the kings and queens of reality television in the world. And I'm kind of surprised Love is Blind UK took so long to begin, but I'm glad it's here now. And also something I'm very impressed by this season is that the cast is really attractive. Like, I don't know what's in the water over there in the UK, and a lot of hot men, which I feel like a lot of the time, like, the women out hot the men on this show. Not totally. I mean, I think Love is Blind does a good job of kind of casting people that are realistic looking, but in the UK, they really cast some hotties. I'm kind of surprised a lot of these men haven't been scooped up on Love Island since there's so many Love Island seasons over there. And on top of being attractive, they also have this British down-to-earthness and humor that make them feel grounded even though they're really hot people. I'm really feeling the season. I think it's worth watching. Production value's there. The cast is good looking and attractive and interesting personality wise, and it's a bit early. There's only 4 episodes out as I'm recording this, but it's promising so far. Also, the host is Emma Willis and Matt Willis, who I was not aware of. They're a hot couple. When I looked her up, she's hosted like Big Brother and other reality shows over there like The Voice UK. So in this video, as usual, I'll be discussing the main couples that have gotten engaged and their journey through the pods. Usually in the first batch of episodes, we get all the pods and then some honeymoon, but there really isn't much honeymoon in this batch. So it's just pods, which is not my favorite. I don't love the pod phase of the experiment. Like, it is the iconic part of Love is Blind, but it's also kind of like generic, and it's hard to tell because everyone's kind of just making all these promises and saying all the right things, and then in the real world shit really goes down. So my favorite part is always like the honeymoons and people seeing each other and the real world, because that's where you find out if the actions back up the words from the pods or if they don't. I want to give my usual disclaimer. These are real people. We are judging edited versions of them, and my opinions in this video, whether positive or negative, don't reflect like the real people they are outside of this experiment. So no need to take it too serious. No need to send hate to anybody. We're just having fun watching trash reality TV. So the first couple I want to cover is Freddie and Catherine. And starting with Freddie, man, this man is dreamy. Someone needs to get this boy some acting lessons and get him as a lead in a British rom-com, because he's like unattainably hot but also has this charm to him, has a really sweet smile and a really sweet personality. His profession is funeral director, which when we talk about perfect reality TV professions, that is one of them, because it turns heads, it's interesting, it's unique, and reality TV producers just love that. I really loved his attitude towards it. I think Catherine asked, like, don't you get creeped out by all the dead bodies? And he says, no, I take it as I'm taking care of someone's loved one. But yeah, Freddie is basically green flags all around. He has a brother with Down syndrome, and he kind of connects with Catherine because she teaches swimming to kids with Down syndrome. There's actually this moment that's kind of going viral online about when they're both talking about their families and they discover that their grandparents have the same names. It's like Bill and Mary are their grandma and grandpa's names. I was just taking it as a sweet coincidence because I feel like in other Love is Blind seasons there's been these weird coincidences like that. Like I feel like Lauren and Cameron had something like that where like their dads had the same name or their moms, or maybe it was Zach and Bliss. One of the successful couples had like all these coincidences, or maybe I was thinking of Zach and Bliss with like the song they always talk about and used in the season, whatever, and I just took it as like a sweet thing. And then everyone online was like, did they not make the connection? They might be cousins. I didn't even make that connection. Realistically, I assume they have talked about their own last names and made sure that they are not cousins, but jury's still out. We have not confirmed yet if they are or are not cousins. Freddie only has a connection with Catherine. I have a feeling when all the pod people get together and see Freddie, they're gonna be like, wait, why did I pass him up again? But no other girls are competing for him. So Catherine has it pretty good. And he even tells her like a psychic told him he would marry a girl with a C name. And Catherine, I'm not sure how I feel about her yet. I mean, she's been mostly really cool and chill, but she does have this vain side to her. I'm curious to see if it comes out in the honeymoons or real world, because I can't tell if she's like kind of a vain, superficial person or if she just had some like bad moments in the pods, you know? She's really into fitness. She's so tired of getting judged for her good look. I know she probably means that, but it's just kind of one of those things of like, oh, it's so hard being so pretty, you know? And it's hard to have sympathy for that, or for that to feel relatable. And so the part that rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm sure a lot of people watching saw this part, was she was between Ollie and Freddie, and there was another girl interested in Ollie, and she had no other competition with Freddie. The other girl that she was competing with Ollie for, she like almost made a judgment about her looks. Her name is Demi. She said something like, oh, I don't know if Ollie and Demi will work out in the real world. And she kind of stops herself and is like, oh, my mouth gets me in trouble sometimes. I feel like she was trying to say something about Demi's looks. And the weirdest thing to me is like, she hasn't even seen Ollie. Like, Ollie could be really ugly. He's not, but he could be really ugly. And she's still thinking like, oh, Demi's not good enough for him. And I'm just like, girl, who are you to judge? And so I'm just curious to see if like she has a mean girl side that's gonna come out soon or not. So yeah, I'm not totally sold on liking Catherine, but she did have some really vulnerable moments that were compelling. She opened up to Freddie about being adopted and kind of having an identity crisis, especially in her 20s about that. And at some point through the pods, Ollie has a birthday in the pods, and Catherine after that decides to step back from Ollie, and she's already having like a better connection with Freddie anyway, but it's kind of because she sees how much Demi put effort into Ollie's birthday and Catherine did not. So I think that's where she realized like, oh, I think Demi is way more into him and I have a good thing going with Freddie. So she focuses just on Freddie. So once Freddie and Catherine are solidified, they like tell each other, I love you. He proposes with a letter. She's sobbing. And then at the reveal, the man is so hot she ugly cries about it. The reveal goes very smoothly. They're both very into each other. They get to the honeymoons and she's still stunned by how good looking he is. He takes his shirt off at one point and she is shocked he looks like a cheese grater. He's definitely not lying about going to the gym twice a day, that's for sure. She does mention in the honeymoons that she's nervous to see Ollie, teasing that reunion as a moment. But she takes her moment and they have sex twice the first night. I mean, you go, girl. That is a great opportunity, and they named the whole episode after that quote. So do I think Freddie and Catherine will last? I think they have a lot of potential. I'm rooting for them. I feel like they're a good match physically. They haven't had any like major roadblocks or fights or like disagreements in the pods. The only thing I could see happening is if she has like a mean girl side that comes out and he's not into it. He gets the ick for some reason. But I find that kind of unlikely. And then the other kind of threat is that when she sees Ollie, is she going to have feelings? Is she going to regret it? But she's with such a hot guy, and Ollie is very hot too. But I don't think she's trying to rock the boat either. I think it'd be a different story if she had like a not so good looking guy. And as far as Freddie goes, he has no other girls competing for him. No discernible flaws yet. The edit hasn't really teased anything with him. He literally feels like a protagonist written out of a romance novel, so we'll see. I'm curious to see what flaws this man has. So next, let's talk about Ollie and Demi, who we've talked about a bit, but let's dive deeper into Ollie first. Apparently people telling me he looks like Craig David. I was like, oh, I know British stuff, British media, but some of the references on this season, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know British culture as much as I thought. Apparently Craig David is like, oh crap, I already forgot, a musician. I looked him up and he does kind of look like him, but I think it's just he has a similar beard and skin tone and hair and stuff like that. But Ollie does look like a celebrity. Not like a specific celebrity, but like he would be a celebrity. He's just like super tall, good looking, groomed, like his stature. I don't know, he just feels like he would be famous. Again, the men are delivering. This might be like the hottest and best men we've had in a season yet. I hope I don't eat my words later in the real world parts of this, but so far these men are excelling. Ollie's very into fitness, he's into boxing, and he bonds with Demi on that because she likes boxing. Him and Demi from the very beginning have this kind of jokey, friendly relationship, but not in like a friend zone way, and their dynamic is really lovable and cute. Like they're joking with each other about going to the basketball arcade and who's better at it, and it's just like really natural right off the bat. And the contrast with Catherine, his other connection, is that Catherine and him are just really flirty, really like sexy with each other, but he starts worrying that like maybe that's all they have and they don't have that much in common. There's this one moment where Ollie is getting ready to tell her this, that he doesn't know if they have enough in common. Maybe it's just like sexual tension they have together. Before he gets to that point, she mentions she partied at a club called Cirque, and he kind of roasts her for that and is like, that club is pretentious. I tried to look it up, and it sounds like Cirque is just like a popular club. It's like, British people, feel free to chime in please on like what type of girls go to Cirque. Maybe it's like a basic bitch type thing, or it's like a rich snooty thing. Right after they have that like little moment, he continues saying like, oh, I think we just have a sexual connection and nothing in common. And Catherine literally thinks like he got the ick because she partied at Cirque, and like that was the reason he started backing off. But Ollie had already had that intention. It was just kind of weird timing. And Catherine like cries about this to the girls and stuff. They don't end up breaking it off there. It's just kind of Ollie sharing his reservations. And then Ollie's birthday happens and Demi goes all out for him. Bakes him a cake and makes him a card and makes it really special. And that really touches Ollie. And I feel like that was the pivotal moment where he decided Demi is his better connection. He like literally gets emotional and it's really sweet. And Demi's just like the best. Like she has coworker energy to me, but like work bestie coworker, you know what I mean? She feels really real, really authentic, really chill, and like you could just kiki with her all day at work, you know? She calls Ollie a cheeky chap. Like, that's adorable. British slang is so funny. as an American. Why don't we say people are a cheeky chap? I love that. Let's bring that one to America. She's very sure about Ollie from the beginning. Like, she shares with him, like, I think you're the one, but he's still kind of like between Catherine and Demi, and it takes him a little longer. But again, that birthday moment was kind of the pivotal moment, and Catherine also had her connection with Freddie, and she backed off, and her and Demi were very friendly, and that was even sadder that Catherine was like judging Demi's looks without even seeing Ollie. That's part of why I feel like Catherine might be a mean girl. But Demi has this moment where she's kind of being people-pleasy to Catherine, like she gets kind of scared to like really go hard on Ollie, but then she realizes like, oh, I'm being people-pleasy with Catherine and I need to put myself first, and she like continues to really pursue Ollie, and it works out for her. So once Ollie and Demi are pretty solidified close to the end, she decides to open up about something deeper, and that is that she has endometriosis, and that might make it hard for her to conceive children. And she says this has gotten in the way of past relationships. And honestly, Ollie reacts so well. Honestly, all the men in the pods so far in the UK have reacted really well and really like empathetically and understanding when the women have shared something deep or something that has caused problems for them. These men are setting a high bar, and I hope it stays throughout the season. How are all these men so hot and so empathetic? Like, are they hired actors? Or are men in the UK just better? British people chime in. Ollie and Demi have a pretty general proposal. They exchange I love yous. He reads a letter. It feels like the proposals in the UK, a lot of people just read romantic letters, kind of like vows, but proposal version. And at the reveal, I was a little concerned because Ollie said a few times, this was his only kind of like red flaggish or beige flag, what is it, orange flag, not quite red flag, but Ollie mentions a few times that he has been known to date with his eyes, meaning like he places a high value on looks, and like that's what people have told him, and that's why he's here to like break that pattern. A lot of times on Love is Blind, when people say that, it means like they really value looks, and if someone's not like supermodel hot at the reveal, there might be a problem. He had mentioned that a few times. And Demi was nervous too. She doesn't have a supermodel figure. She's kind of a tomboy, and she had shared that with Ollie, and even he was concerned that like she's been considered one of the guys a lot in her life or in her friend groups. And so she's just pretty nervous leading up to the reveal. There's this fierce girl with a chignon that like gives her a pep talk that is so supportive. Like, we stan chignon girl. Love her. Love chignon girl. Once they do the reveal, Ollie is very happy and Demi's very happy. They're very happy with each other. They're very comfortable right away. He says she's curvy in all the right places, and it's really great because Demi is just like, I fell in love with her personality over this journey, and like I feel like she deserves the world, and I just want them to work out so bad. And in the honeymoons, he continues to seem all in on Demi and seem really happy with what they're at and continuing to explore. Only thing is, first night they kept a PG, even though they did have a physical connection and were like, I guess, making out or whatever. So that makes me a tad nervous. Like, is there anything there? Is there hesitation? But he explains like, oh, he just really wants to work on their emotional connection and growing that. I just really want this couple to work out. I want them to so bad. Oh my god, it's so hard. Like in the pods and reveal, like so many of these couples seem good, and I'm just like, shit always goes down in the real world. So I don't know if they're gonna work out. Their big threat is Catherine and seeing what kind of chemistry Ollie and Catherine have, because they had really intense chemistry with a wall in between them. So in person, who knows? But I really want them to work. I really want them. I'm rooting for Demi and Ollie, probably the hardest out of anyone in the season so far. Ollie better not break Demi's heart, because Demi is precious. And Ollie's like a really good guy, it seems. Like, I don't want him to let me down. So next, let's talk about Sabrina and Steven. And they were actually our first couple to get engaged, and they did not have any other connections. As far as Sabrina goes, I like her. She kind of seems like she would be a cat person, even though she didn't confirm that at all. She might hate cats, who knows. She connects with Steven, who kind of looks like Diplo to me. Or maybe like the Spock guy who's like promoting a show right now, or a mixture. And especially looking like Diplo, I don't trust him just because of that, but he hasn't given me any real reasons to not trust him. He actually seems really in touch with his emotions, and he mentions it's weird because he grew up in like a very boy heavy life, like went to a boys school and had brothers or whatever. He doesn't know where it comes from, but he has like a whole morning routine with like a gratitude journal, which is amazing. More men should get into the gratitude journals. And Sabrina's very gagged by that because she has very similar views and routines in the morning, and like they just really vibe. He is like a gym bro CrossFitter guy, which I feel like doesn't seem that compatible with Sabrina because she seems like more of a bookish girl. I don't know, I'm projecting a lot of personality traits on her, but that obstacle didn't come across them. They did actually run into an obstacle in the pods, and that was on the topic of having children, because she mentions she would be okay if she never had children, and he gets kind of deflated by that and says like he definitely wants children. So it's a bit of an awkward moment of like, ooh, this is a big thing. And I mean, these are the types of things they are having to cover in the pods, of course. And they kind of leave that date feeling very scared that they're not going to work out because of these differing views. And then they come back together after that for another date and hash it out. And she elaborates that like she just wants to establish the marriage first and their relationship as husband and wife, and wait a few years before maybe having kids. And he's okay with that. You know, she's in her mid-30s now, and by the time she would be ready to be having kids, she would be like 38, 39, and doesn't know if she'd be able to conceive at that point. And so she's open to surrogacy or adoption. And that was kind of like the moment of like, are we gonna work or not? Because if he's not down for that, he's not. But he was down for it. Again, like the men were just responding really cool, and like they were down to compromise like that, and he was very okay with that option. I do feel like that option's pretty expensive, but so is having a kid in general. So I hope their finances are in order to cover all that. I guess at their age, they probably have enough savings. Both Sabrina and Steven had really intense backstories that they opened up to each other about. For her dad abandoned her, and then she found out he wasn't even her real dad. And her dad was like an Italian guy that went back to Italy. And it was just like, what? And then his backstory was that his previous long-term girlfriend like had cancer or a tumor found, and he watched her fight this illness for her life. And after 8 months into the illness, she broke up with him. But she did survive. I was at first I was like, oh my god, she passed away, and that's so tragic. But she survived. And I think she's doing okay, but it's still like a difficult thing to live through, and I wonder if we'll get more information on that in the real world or hear more about it. Yeah, they both had really tragic. A lot of these people in Love is Blind UK had intense backstories. Same for Love is Blind Mexico. Oh my god, the backstories in Love is Blind Mexico. That's a whole other thing. Steven and Sabrina are a bit of a boring couple. They don't have too much going on. I mean, they did have the conflict in the pods. The proposal is kind of weird because she hesitates on her yes, and then the episode ends and you're like, oh my gosh, she's saying, I thought she was saying no for real, but then she says yes. And even he's like, oh, you said yes. And she's like, yeah, of course. And it's like, girl, start with the yes. I hate in the proposal when they do like a fake out, because I'm just like, that's just sadistic. Like, please, just give your answer. So when they get to the reveal, the noteworthy thing with them is that she kept predicting he was bald. He'll get there. He'll be bald eventually, but he's not bald yet. It was just funny. And they were both happy with each other's appearance. They're both cute. Their greeting was a bit tentative and shy, but not in like a way that doesn't feel like they're into each other. And in the honeymoons, they did have a physical connection or intimacy the first night. So far things are going really well with this couple. Do I think they'll make it? I think they have really big potential. I think right now I would predict, yeah, they say I do at the altar. It's so hard right now because, again, we haven't seen anything realistic with the couples yet, but they don't have any other connections to pose a threat. I don't know, maybe the kids thing could come back and bite them in the butt, but they seem to really resolve that. So I don't see any big red flags. I don't see the editing teasing anything. They seem pretty solid. So next is Sam and Nicole. A villain has entered the pods. Woo! I'm glad because everyone was being a bit too behaved in the pods to make good reality TV, but Sam came in swinging. Sam is very clearly very vain. He's the Shake archetype, just in a different font. He talks about getting a nose job, that he like prepped for the show to like look really good. Literally, look at him. This man is a fuckboy. He mentions that girls judge him for his thirst traps on Instagram. Gee, I wonder why. And he's one of these guys, and this is like the biggest red flag. He's one of these guys that says nice guys always finish last. And I always wonder, like, the guys that say this, have they ever considered maybe they're not a nice guy? But Sam, oh my god, I can't believe he literally said this. He's literally telling girls, like, oh, if you saw me, you'd be impressed. Or girls tell me I'm such a good kisser. Like, he always brings it back to himself. The man is exhibiting some narcissistic tendencies, if you will. It kind of feels like he read, like, a manual on compliments to give girls to make them sleep with you and is just reciting them to everybody. The way he answers girls' questions sometimes, it feels like he's taking a test or he's playing a game, and when a girl responds with like, "Aw," he's like, yes, like, got it right. It's so fake and fraudulent. The lack of self-awareness with this man is the hilarious part, but the way he is fooling Nicole is not the funny part. So he has two connections, Jasmine and Nicole, and they progress very, very differently. He's really into Jasmine, and we'll talk more about her in a bit because she also ended up engaged to someone else. But Jasmine pretty quickly picks up on Sam's red flags. You can tell she has dealt with fuckboys before, and she even mentions her previous relationship. He cheated on her and she found out he got another girl pregnant. So Jasmine can spot a fuckboy, and her gut instinct right away told her Sam is just saying everything a girl wants to hear. And she tells Sam, like, I feel like you're just telling me everything I want to hear. And Sam immediately starts throwing a tantrum, like, this is ridiculous, nice guys finish last, and what do I need to do? And like, he's such a baby about it. Oh my god. So soon after that, Jasmine breaks up with him, and he really throws a tantrum. He gets really short with her, leaves the room, throws his cup like a little spoiled brat child, cries to all the boys that it took her 30 seconds to break up with me. I'm such an idiot. It's almost like he could sense how hot she was and was pissed he fumbled that. Like, I don't know how he sussed that out, but like, he was pissed that Jasmine broke up with him. I mean, obviously, I think he just can't handle rejection, and can't handle that, like, maybe he's the problem. Later, when Jasmine gets engaged to another guy, he's super bitter boots about it too. And unfortunately, his other connection, Nicole, does not quite have the working gut that Jasmine did. And she thinks all these canned answers he's giving and all these compliments are totally genuine. Ah, Nicole. Poor Nicole. I feel so bad for her. Like, oh, Nicole was low-key on the back burner for Sam until Jasmine broke up with him, and Nicole was his only connection left. He gets Nicole a bracelet to try to seal the deal, and I mean, it works. Nicole is falling right into his fuckboy trap. And it's just so gross how he talks to the boys. Like, he clearly just sees these women as a game to win, and when he talks to the boys, his vanity really comes out. And there's one point where Nicole almost insinuates that he won't be able to pick her up. And she's not particularly overweight or anything, but she just stops herself because she realizes, oh, I'm not supposed to be talking about my physical attributes. But he picks up on that and then complains to the boys like, oh my god, she said this, and like, what does that mean? And he's like really scared that she might not be stick skinny or something. So that causes a whole situation. As far as Nicole goes, she has a connection with Sam, but also Benaiah. So she has two connections, and they could not be more opposite. Like, Benaiah is a guy that could probably live in the woods for a month, no problem. And Sam is more like the type of guy that would throw his phone at the wall if the Wi-Fi went down for an hour. It's kind of weird how Nicole is into both of them because they're so different. And Nicole is such a sweet girl. Like, her and Benaiah talk about kind of spiritual type stuff, and like how she loves hiking and outdoor yoga. And Benaiah's like super granola. He's like straight up homeless. I mean, not on the streets homeless, but like nomadic and house sitting or something. But she's into it. The problem with Benaiah is that he's a bit of a slow burner, and he's approaching the experiment tentatively. Like, there's a healthy caution about him to not jump in super fast with Nicole. And unfortunately that hurts him in the end because he realizes he is in love with Nicole and falling for her and ready to propose. But Nicole is already all tangled up in Sam's web. And so after this debacle happens, where she almost mentions that Sam won't be able to pick her up, and Sam is talking to the boys like, oh my god, what does that mean? I'm scared of what she's gonna look like, kind of thing. Benaiah hears all this, and he feels protective over Nicole, and even though he doesn't want to be part of the drama, he decides to tell Nicole that Sam is bad news. So on their next date, she's basically almost ready to break up with Benaiah, but Benaiah tells her like, hey, I'm gonna be brutally honest. And then he's not brutally honest. He kind of like waters it down. He doesn't mention exactly the comments about like weight or anything, or like being concerned with her appearance. He ends up just telling her like, I don't think Sam is here for the right reasons. So he like pulls a Bachelor on her and is saying like, I think Sam is here for fame. And Benaiah seems really genuine. Like, I believe he was being genuinely protective. I mean, the way Sam was talking about Nicole was really disgusting, and I hated it. I thought it was honestly really sweet that Benaiah went to her, but this does get really risky in these shows. Like, I feel like the whistleblowers always get punished for being whistleblowers, even if they were right in the end. And Benaiah also approaches it really nice, like tells her like, you go with your heart, I'm just trying to look out for you, it's up to you. Like, he's super chill. He's another one of these guys that's like super cool and understanding and trying to just do his best by Nicole. And so Nicole then is very perplexed by what Benaiah is saying, because she's still drinking the Sam Kool-Aid completely and just cannot believe he could be nefarious. Oh, the girl is Delulu. It's so sad. And Nicole even talks to Jasmine, who Jasmine is a total girl's girl, and tells her like, hey, I have these gut instincts about Sam. I think he's bad news. So far that's two very rational, chill people. Keep that in mind. Two people told her. Jasmine literally tells her like, he's been feeding me the same line since the very beginning. And Nicole is like, okay, like, earth to Nicole. Ugh, I was yelling at my TV so hard. And so the moment of truth comes where she has to make the choice between Ben and Sam. And I was so hopeful, like, two rational people have told her Sam is bad news, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes and chooses Sam. I was so sad for Ben. He was like literally ready to propose and tell her he loved her and everything. And yet she chose Sam. She did want to like ask him a tough question, and she ended up asking him like, are you here for marriage? Girl, what do you think he's gonna say? No, I'm a clout chaser. What kind of clout chaser says they're a clout chaser? And of course, he's over here playing the game, and he's like, yes, of course I'm here for marriage. And Nicole is like, for you. Oh, I was so worried. You can sense, oh my god, this was like one of the cringiest moments this season. You can tell Sam is desperate because he knows Benaiah is onto this connection and like a tough competitor with Nicole. Sam gets like desperate. He's like, Nicole, trust me. Trust me. Trust me, Nicole. Trust. And then all of a sudden, he proposes. I wasn't even ready in my notes. I was like, oh my God, the proposal. Oh my God, what? This was not supposed to be the proposal. Because Sam is so desperate and I think so worried that she's going to talk to Benaiah after this and doesn't want to leave any kind of opportunity for him. He springs a proposal onto her. And Nicole, I think she just gets swept up in the moment and says yes. And it's so like, girly, please. We're begging. And you can tell, like, after she says yes and leaves the pod, she's like, oh shit, what have I done? Because, yeah, like, she totally rushed into this. She hasn't even broken up with Ben yet. And now she's engaged. I think that was one of the first times you can tell the gut instinct was finally kicking in. And better late than never, it came eventually. And after this engagement, Sam goes back to the boys. The way he describes, like, the things he said to her, he's like, oh yeah, I said blah 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 la-di-da, I said what I needed to say, and now we're engaged. And it just felt like, so like, I won the game, guys, great. And so after this, Nicole has to go break up with Ben, who is ready to propose. It's tragic. He declares his love for her and she's already engaged. He's getting the bliss treatment and he's so sad when he learns she's engaged. So once they get to the reveal, it gets even more interesting somehow. The reveal is a disaster between Sam and Nicole. First of all, I found it very jarring, their height difference. Like, Sam did not look as tall as he is, and Nicole didn't look like as short as she is. It's like an insane height difference. When he's kneeling to propose, he's almost as tall as her. It's wild. They look like that Naomi Smalls meme from Drag Race. And the red flags are just all over the place at this reveal. Sam tells the camera, like, I don't care what anyone thinks, she's beautiful. And it's like, who said she wasn't beautiful? That was big time shady. And then he calls her eyes boring brown and then tries to backtrack, but you can't backtrack that. And at least she is struggling. She's like, I'm struggling to feel the connection, the emotional connection, and connect it to the physical. So like, that gut instinct, it's there, it's here, fashionably late to the party. And after they part, he tells her he loves her, and she's just like, okay, I'll hold on to that. She saw the light. She did it. She did it. And they actually end up not going to the honeymoons because the reveal went so shaky. Apparently he had put the ring on the wrong finger and she took that as a sign. Listen, whatever works, girl. And Sam claims he also felt off after the reveal and like it wasn't right. And I kind of think, like, first of all, I don't think he was that into her physically. My theory is he was like satisfied with his amount of screen time because he figured if he made it to engagement and reveal, like, he would at least be featured compared to someone in the pods that like didn't make a connection at all or didn't get engaged. And the good thing about this is that Nicole wants to go find Benaiah back in London. And the preview shows them meeting up and maybe they could be our Zach and Bliss of the season. I'm rooting for them. They're so cute and they seem like they could be a great match. If Zach and Bliss could do it, there is hope. I mean, I don't know if they're even gonna stay engaged or get engaged when they see each other, but like, that would be sweet. We'll see. So next is Jasmine and Bobby. We talked about Jasmine a bit. She sussed out Sam right away, and she did have this other connection with Bobby. She is gorge. I feel like we didn't get to know her too much. And same for Bobby. I mean, I loved how blunt she was with Sam and that she was a really good communicator. Like, I think you're bullshitting me, basically, and just was fine with it. Like, felt very cool. Like, Jasmine's a cool girl. Seems like she's a girl's girl. I like her a lot. I just feel like we didn't get many distinct personality traits. And for Bobby, it was even less, I feel like. He's a luxury shopper on cruises, which is an interesting profession. He only connects with Jasmine. He doesn't have any other connections. He does also have like kind of a tragic backstory where he didn't have a father figure and like really looked up to his older cousin, and then the older cousin passed away in like a boat accident or something. A lot of sad backstories in this one. But again, like, personality wise, Jasmine and Bobby, like, I don't really know their tea. Their proposal was very general. Her outfit was strange. It kind of looked like she was wearing a corset top and gray sweatpants. It wasn't sweatpants, but it kind of looked like it. I was not living for the outfit. It was giving like work from home vibes. Like, you only put effort into the top half. The reveal goes okay. They're a little nervy, a little shaky, but they're both attractive people. I think if anything, he's more into her than she is into him, but she seems into him enough. At the honeymoon, she does say like he's not her usual type and she usually likes rougher guys. He's a bit more of a pretty boy, but they're trying and making it work and have a good dynamic. I just struggle to find like what is the personality of this couple. I'm excited to see more. She also mentions he snores. I don't think that's that important, but the edit seems to be teasing she's not as into him. Like just a smidge. Will they make it? I don't know. I think they could go either way. The edit isn't giving me super confidence into these two. They just didn't make a big impact on me. They're kind of more minor characters in the season, and that makes me feel like maybe they fizzle out, or maybe they're the type that go to the altar and just kind of like say no, but it's not a big deal. I don't know. So let's move on to our final couple, and that's Maria and Tom. This is another couple that kind of didn't make a big impact on me. I'm so sorry. I always feel they were all introduced in episode 2, and always couples and people that are introduced in the second episode, I'm like, who are you? Maria had another really sad backstory. The sad backstories this season, I'm sorry to be a doubter, but like, they're sad. She like lost her dad to COVID, and it was like peak COVID, so she couldn't see him. It was really sad. Maria's only connection is Tom, and they kind of have a shaky moment at first because she talks about she likes the idea of being like a traditional wife, and Tom is kind of like, I don't want you to be a stay-at-home wife or anything. He's not as into it, so Maria has to kind of backtrack and be like, oh no, I still intend to work and be independent. She just meant like, oh, when we have kids, the first year or two, I want to be there. Tom actually had a really cool response to this too, and was like, I want to be there too for my kids' first years. And that's like refreshing from a man. It feels like bare minimum, but like it's refreshing for a man to say like, I'd be down to be a stay-at-home parent too. Like, why do you get to be the stay-at-home parent with the kids? The men's responses have surprised me in the best ways, except Sam, of course, you know. They can't all be winners. So Tom, he's a bit older. I think he's 38 than we usually see on Love is Blind. Honestly, everyone has been like in their 30s for Love is Blind UK. I feel like the average age is older than what we see in the US. And Tom kind of reminds me of Liam from One Direction if he was all grown up. Sorry, but if I'm going to be watching Love is Blind UK, my former directioner is going to come out at a certain point. And he reminds me so much of Liam, which is not a good thing, honestly. Liam's kind of like the problematic one these days. But anyway, Tom does have 2 connections with Maria, which we already said, and Natasha. And Natasha's cool. I mean, she's kind of nerdy. She said she lost 5 stones recently. Here's hoping she finds them. Anyway. Anyway, I think stones mean weight. I don't know how many pounds or kilograms that is, but I feel like the US and the UK are more alike than they want to admit. In that we use goofy measurement systems that make no sense to any other country. But anyway, Natasha's cool. I mean, she bonds with Tom over liking movies. That's the kind of thing in the pods that I'm just like, everyone likes movies. Like, everyone loves family. Not everyone, but you know what I mean. Like, the pods get so boring because people are just like, oh my god, do you love movies too? Revolutionary. What ends up happening with Natasha and Tom is that their dynamic never progresses further from friends. And Tom feels like he would have a stronger like romantic connection with Maria. So eventually Tom does break it off with Natasha, and Natasha's devastated. She's really heartbroken, and she kind of has the attitude of like, you haven't seen the last of me. She does seem very determined, and she had really strong feelings for Tom. And as far as Tom and Maria go, like after he breaks up with Natasha, he proposes to Maria, and their proposal is like the most casual I've ever seen on Love is Blind. Like they're both just sitting on the couch and not super dressed up or anything. It's kind of random. Like I didn't even expect it to be the proposal, and it was. Once we get to the reveal, Maria has this plan to dress all in red to stun, and do the red lipstick and red dress and all these things. And she does stun. Maria stuns in red dress. However, the decision backfires when they start kissing, and Tom ends up with the entirety of the red lipstick on his face. He's trying to be really serious and romantic, and it's very hard to take him serious when it's just giving clown the whole time. It was unfortunate because she did look great in the red. It was just so funny how fast it backfired. And also something I found curious was that Maria told the girls, like, if Tom is super hot, I'm gonna run towards him. I won't be able to stop myself. And when we see the reveal, she slowly walks towards him, so I don't know if that's saying he's not as hot as she would have preferred, but they do seem happy with each other. They don't say anything negative about their appearances. But yeah, I don't know if I'm like living for this couple. We see them a little bit in the honeymoons, and she kind of says like, oh, I wouldn't go for a man his age in the real world, but we're vibing, we're good. I just don't feel like a big spark, a big chemistry with them. I'm not super invested with them as a couple. I'm just not very excited about them or excited when they're on screen, you know? And also it seems like they did not have sex the first night, and that's not always an indictment that they're bad, but a lot of the time I feel like the successful couples are pretty intimate right off the bat. I just don't feel that passion there. So I don't know if they're gonna make it, and there's also the threat of Natasha, who seemed really determined in their breakup, and they tease in the preview, obviously she's gonna come back, but he had more spark with Maria than Natasha in the pod, so I don't know if Natasha can summon up the spark that's missing. But I don't think Tom and Maria will say yes at the altar. Maybe they will, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm rooting for them, but I'm not rooting against them. Kind of boring couple. Sorry to end on a boring one, but I would love to hear your thoughts on Love is Blind UK so far. I will be covering the rest of the season as it comes out, and I'm also trying to cover Love is Blind Mexico and the Love Island USA Season 6 reunion in August. So there's kind of a lot going on. I literally had to take an energy drink for this video and it worked, honestly. My next few videos might be a little delayed because I'm busy with real life stuff and I have a full-time job, in case you didn't know. And until y'all blow me up on YouTube enough to make it my full-time job, I will still have other obligations to prioritize on top of YouTube. Feel free to leave your thoughts on Love is Blind UK, any British things I may have missed, or just predictions about where the season is headed. I would love to hear about it. Episodes 1 through 4 really didn't give us much about what's gonna happen. I'm rooting for a lot of couples, and I think there's a lot of potential here, but we don't know till the real world. The real world, the shit goes down. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos whenever I feel like it about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to keep up with me, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!